Well, that was a nice blast from the past. Now to move on to the year the world ended. And what I mean by that is Zach's life in Pennsylvania. That's right. In late 2012, Zach moved almost 3,000 miles away to Washington State to get a fresh start.
And that's where I came in.
Now, when I think of the year 2012, not much really comes to mind. It's really just a big blank when it comes to YouTube and the JETRAY era. So there was a lot of stuff that was going on, some that I don't want to talk about, because it doesn't just directly affect me. It was also other people that were affected inside my family. Now, in that year, my mom met this guy who I don't want to give the name out because of privacy reasons, obviously, who gave us the opportunity to move to Washington State, which was almost 3,000 miles away from where we originally lived. As extreme as that sounds, my depression was getting terrible, and instead of handling things head on, I essentially just wanted to run away. So I gladly agreed. I kind of regret that now because I'll probably explain that another day. I don't know if I should now. I definitely would need to ask a few questions before I do, because once again, it's not just about me, it's about the rest of my family, and I don't know how much they want me to mention them. But anyway, since my sister was almost 18, she had graduated not too long before, my mom decided to let her stay and move into an apartment down the street. She didn't stay in that place very long. In fact, there was only one video recorded there, which was another mobile video. When I moved to Washington, I figured I'm going to go all out with a fresh start. And at that point, I made the mistake of taking YouTube seriously. I say that as a mistake for other reasons I'll probably talk about later. So anyway, I decided to abandon JETRAY 103 and start a whole new channel. This is the first time I decided to drop the JETRAY name and go for something else. This is the first channel I was making while I was in the gothic subculture, and I had just discovered the Slender Man, as still to this day one of my favorite horror monsters out there. So of course, put two and two together, the new channel name would be Gothic Slender Man, which is technically what you're on right now. Cackling Pumpkins is merely just the same channel but with a different name. Many of the videos where I still went by the name Gothic Slender Man are still on the channel. In fact, I believe the URL is still set up to be Gothic Slender Man, so if you ever want to look me up URL-wise, just put youtube.com, I believe it's /user or channel, can't remember which one, but I know it's Gothic Slender Man after that. No underscore, no space, just Gothic Slender Man. The only reason I used that name was because I thought Slender Man was essentially an open-use character, much like Cthulhu, many fairy tales, but it turns out that is not the case. This is the year I also created what would eventually become one of my most popular characters, Bisexual Boxers.
Haven't you heard? I'm bisexual.
Who now you know as Blake the Bisexual Boxers. Essentially, it was just me once again trying to connect with that Make Me Bad 35 inspiration, but going even further by making a character that's literal joke was meant to be foul, disgusting, and also bisexual. Not to say that it had any connection. I just thought like, oh, be mature, haha, make a lot of dick jokes, make him bisexual, so I can make all sorts of sex jokes, haha, I was 16. You see, now you know why I changed his name to Blake and essentially gave the character a major overhaul personality-wise. He was essentially just a walking stereotype at that point, and I didn't want to make a harmful representation of the LGBT community. I didn't want people to be like, oh, this character is basically nothing but, haha, dicks, penis, I love vagina, but I also love dick, pina colada, penis colada. I probably would do some jokes like that every now and then with the character nowadays, but I want to give him more of a personality that doesn't just revolve around him being bisexual. It was never meant to be harmful. It was only a year after my sister had came out as lesbian, so it was never meant to be harmful. It was just me trying to rely on edgy humor. But with that being said, I think that's all that really happened in the year 2012. Not much really came about. I wanted to do something with Nat the Banana Ghost. I know I thought about that, but I don't think it ever came to be. Because the day we actually moved to Washington, like the day we just arrived, was the day of Halloween. I couldn't do anything at that point. It was already too late, and I didn't think I had everything. So I guess it's appropriate just to move on to the next year, 2013, at the officially the 5-year anniversary of the JETRAY era.
After the non-existent apocalypse, Zach tried to experiment with a few things, including one thing that he'd focused on for years, horror. And it's all thanks to creepypasta.
Now, this is even harder because I couldn't really think of much that happened in this year either, because, I don't know. I know it was my 5-year anniversary, I tried a few ways to celebrate it. I wanted to make a game at that point. For those that don't know, one of my dreams is to make a sort of a crossover game featuring my characters. And that dream started in 2013. It was originally going to be a platform fighter in the form of Smash Brothers, but nowadays I'm not sure what I really would like to do with it. And the reason I didn't go through with it was because, for one, I underestimated what game development is like. 2, I had no way of actually making games. And 3, I didn't have that many characters. Many of the projects I made beforehand were either abandoned, like Code Smash, Clover Spring Memories. Dark Smash never even came to be. Let's see. And the only real characters I had were the early versions of Tug, Blake, Nat, and myself, and maybe like a few others here and there. I can think of a few more now, but at that time, even then I realized I didn't have enough characters. So I spent the next years trying to make more characters so I can eventually make the dream, which is something I would come to regret. I did make a few things like sort of a backstory to Nat the Banana Ghost, how he became a ghost, but honestly, I can't really think of much that happened that year. I know I tried to make a movie, but I can't remember whether or not that was actually 2013 or 14 that happened. I'm pretty sure it was 14 because I think that's when Jack the Terror Skull was introduced. And I know for a fact that's the year.
Well, that was fun. How about we?
Hey, jackass, it's my turn.
Oh, come on, I didn't even get to do a whole 3 years.
And neither will I, thanks to Doug and his mascot privilege. At least make it even between us before I give you the beating of a lifetime.
Fine.
I've got a date with Firecrotch anyway.
Alright, folks, it's 2014, the year of torture. Zach tried something a little different by attempting to upload videos almost every day. This will turn out to be his most successful year, and it's all thanks to Freddy Fazbear.
– 2014 is a year that I would come to regret. It was essentially the epitome of quantity over quality. Instead of making fun, entertaining videos, I just slapped stuff together. I essentially became a vlogger in one of those commentary channels. It was mainly just me trying to make videos every single day, which I almost succeeded in. To be fair, it was one of my most successful years out there. I had achieved 15,000 subscribers, and it was mainly thanks to Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's when it came in August, and the years afterwards, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 eventually came, I believe, October. Can't exactly remember, but Five Nights at Freddy's was huge at that point. Five Nights at Freddy's led to my first and so far only video that has over 1 million views. And it's still on the channel. It's, I believe, the top 10 animatronic ideas for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. I had a video based on Five Nights at Freddy's 3, but for some reason YouTube took it down and gave me a strike. They never explained why, and despite the fact they have a big dispute button, they never gave me the chance to use it. The dispute button was nowhere to be found. And that essentially killed all of the success I could have had at that point. I was finally growing, I was gaining subscribers, but what happened was that, thanks YouTube, you gave me a strike, didn't even tell me why, and you didn't even give me a chance to dispute it, which essentially destroyed my one and only chance to actually become a successful YouTuber in the past 10 fucking years. But you know what, I'm kind of glad I didn't actually become successful, because I feel like with my behavior at that point, I was just a piece of shit in 2014. I didn't respect many other people. I essentially thought my life was a movie. And I say that because one person who I was friends with at that point in time actually said that to me. They said, you need to stop acting like your life is a movie. And then I was just like, I know what you're talking about. But nowadays, I completely understand. I was like, yeah, I was essentially just doing that. I was just pretending my life was a movie. I come to regret many of the things I did in 2014 and 13. Some I'll probably talk about another day, but I don't think this is the most appropriate time to do so. But I forgot to mention one thing. One important thing that I actually consider more important than the Five Nights at Freddy's videos. In early 2014, I made what eventually became another popular character, Jack the Terror Skull, whose name back then was originally just
Terror. I think I'll be of assistance.
Aren't you the skull from the time Zach was trying to make those Christmas specials?
Yeah, pretty much.
What do you think?
Well, what do you call yourself?
Yeah, what do you call yourself?
Terror.
I like him. What do you think?
Terror was just a skull who loved to torture people. Once again, connecting to Blake's origins, he was just meant to be this edgy character that revolved around being edgy. He loved torturing people, he loved scaring others, but he wasn't necessarily a bad person. A lot of the times he would defend his friends, he would try and protect them, but a lot of the times he would be both a torturer and a scarer. So I wouldn't necessarily call him a good person at that point in time. Even still now, with his newer version, Jack the Terror Skull, he's still in that weird in-between where he's sort of an anti-hero. He hasn't changed that much over the years. He has been given more of a personality like Blake, but that's really it. Terror was introduced mainly to make sort of a Three Stooges-like thing. Like, once again, Three Stooges, and then Nettie. I wanted to make a trio. And at that point, it was Mr. Tuggles, Bisexual Boxers, and Terror. And they've changed over the years into who they are now. To Tug the Penguin, Blake the Bisexual Boxers, and Jack the Terror Skull. Sorry, almost called him Jake. And I still like the character. I still use him to this day. I find him kind of fun. His voice is really hard to do, though. It's easy at first, but it starts to hurt after a while. I can't do that many lines with Jack, and that actually got me to consider changing his voice, but I just couldn't find a new idea for it. Other things came in 2014. One of the things I would regret that I will mention now is that I just slapped stuff together, once again as an attempt to make more characters for that game I wanted to create. One of which was Jake and Nightmare, which is essentially just this big black lab we had named Jake, and this little Pomeranian I had for only a year at that point, who I still have now, Nightmare, just talking to each other. And Nightmare would be this overly excited little kid, be like,
Jake, let's go on an adventure!
and Jake would just be that grouchy old man, be like,
What the hell do you want?
Jake, guess what I found?
A license, alcohol, and drugs. You get the hell out of here!
There are only about like 4, maybe 5 episodes that were made. I actually considered making a finale, but unfortunately in 2015, Jake was put down since he had gotten cancer. So technically the only way I can really make a finale is if I made Jake like a ghost or something. Another project I tried to create was Bloody Madness, 2014 webcomic which I still kind of like the idea of, but I feel like there could have been a lot of better execution. The earliest version of Alice Darkson came at this point, called The Incarnation of Quintus Demonio, which is awful, just terrible. Every time I think of it, I just think, oh god. I'm glad I didn't continue forth with The Incarnation of Quintus Demonio. There's only like 1 full chapter and half of the second chapter that's out, and it's generally just this steaming pile of nonsensical self-insert garbage. There was also other things like Tears of Torture, Dance of Suicide, other things that were equally rushed, just so I can go ahead and say, hey, I have this character, put them into this game, which of course never came to be either. There were some things I am proud of that came at that point. Normal Horse started in 2014, and also other characters like
Harry Dick, famous journalist and interviewer,
also came in 2014, and another character who I like, who I haven't used since his introduction, and I can't even remember his name. He was like this Halloween character who I actually introduced at school at that point. We were doing a Halloween thing where everyone can come in costumes, and I came in as that character who I can't remember the name of. He was meant to be elegant, yet also sort of evil. There's another character I made called Unknown, who is essentially a parody of Anonymous. But instead of actually doing things to try and change the country, Unknown would just complain about things that really don't matter, yet he believes are the things that are ruining this country, like reality TV shows. Oh god. 2014 had a lot, but once again, like I said, it was the epitome of quantity over quality. It tried way too hard to introduce a lot of characters, a lot of series, but it had no real substance. I am not proud of 2014, and there are only certain things I am proud of from 2014, being Normal Horse, Jack the Terror Skull, and a few select characters here and there, but everything else I really dislike. But I wouldn't mind either retooling a lot of those assets and making something new out of them, or perhaps maybe just remaking or rebooting something like Bloody Madness or Dance of Suicide, which is kind of what Tales of the Grimoire Sapien is. Tales of the Grimoire Sapien is kind of an evolution of that. I believe 2014 was the last full year I was in Washington State, and 2015 would be the year that I'd return to Pennsylvania for the exact same reasons that I left. Pathetic, I know.
Now with all of this happening, let's settle down with our last interview with Zach's great friend from Washington, Joanna Wise.
How did you two first meet?
We first met when he started coming to my high school, junior year, in the same English class, and Miss Bloom, I still remember her name to this day, which class it was. Yeah, I'm kind of a dork like that. When he first came around, I just, had this massive crush on him, I'm not gonna lie. It's no shame in the past now. I just really wanted to get to know the guy, but the problem was I was too much of a shy asshole to really do anything. So eventually we would start talking, and turns out we have quite a bit in common with each other, and through that friendship is how I found out about his channels and everything. And like a stalker, I ended up checking it out for myself.
What was your favorite memory of the JETRAY era?
The first video and first and only video, was if Facebook was real life, and we ended up doing that at the Centralia campus, the college campus, and it was almost like around sunset at the time. And so the thing about where I live, still live, and where he used to live, there would be these trains that would just zoom by constantly, and you would never know what time it would be. You could basically be doing whatever, cooking dinner, watching TV, jerking off to porn, doesn't matter. You could hear just the sound of a train off in the distance, it would just throw off whatever game you're doing. Anyway, those noises, I still remember that those would interrupt our shooting, and we would get so pissed about that. Okay, but maybe I should just talk about the video itself. So basically what we did was Zach came up with the idea of, hey, what if people communicated to each other like how we would on Facebook? And keep in mind, when this is done, this was sort of around the time when Facebook was kind of a new thing, kind of, sort of. So, and I still remember the little sound effect that we used, and my absolute favorite part about the whole video was that the part of Joanna sent a sticker, and I just raised my middle finger at the camera. Good times.
You know what? This conversation is over. I am done with this. I am done with this bull. You can go ahead and randomly stare at other people all you want, but I'm going ahead and go to Tumblr or Twitter because Facebook is just not working out for me. Okay? Alright. You have fun standing there? I am gonna go.
Did you ever think it would go this far?
If I were to be completely honest, yeah. But then again, when I was first thinking about it, I'd honestly thought that, yeah, you basically be like a giant superstar, not gonna lie.
What are your future plans?
I don't have a slight clue. I'm just kinda rolling the tides. And currently I'm busy with the National Guard in my state. So I'm just gonna kinda see where that takes me. I'm kinda thinking about staying, but I'm not quite sure yet. But I don't know why I'm answering this question. This is supposed to be about you, Zach, and your channels, and all about JETRAYs and shit, not about me and shit. Ugh.
How about we take a few steps back, or should I say 3,000 miles back? In early 2015, Zach moved back to Pennsylvania to attempt to start his new life.